How do I finance the sweets for Athena? No limit to the budget for treats for Athena. And in fact, I might be picking some up today because we're almost out of her favorite one. I'm going to keep this. I'm probably putting back Force of Negation on the mulligan on the play. How many complete decks do I have in paper? More and more. You know, I'm just kind of trying to build a kind of a broad modern collection, so I've got a lot of decks half built. But I've got like all the Jeskai variants. I have Bant Squirrelblade basically entirely built. I'm missing like a Borrower and the Champions. I've got a lot of like bad blue decks built. This is also a great hand to get the Bant Triumph. Does Pulse gain life if they remove the graveyard target? It does not. Probably Jund. Time walk over Force. I think Force on the play on a mulligan to 6, especially with like a 2-land hand, could just be not good enough. Alright, so now I'm really going to want to get Temple Garden and just have all of my colors. So hopefully I'm not going to have to Logic Knot Wrenn and 6 this turn. Cool. Pick up some stuff. I usually just use TCG Player. I don't think I've ever bought cards on Twitter. I do see people selling stuff from time to time. But they're usually selling stuff that I guess I'm not that interested in buying. They know about the pool, so I think we're supposed to play pool. Pool has been good in this deck. Again, you don't want to play it in Squirrelblade because you just don't have tough cards to cast like Eternal Witness and Skyclave Apparition. Cryptic Command. Yikes. Was I attempting to brew with Nico Aris? No, I know I posted on Twitter asking about the card, but I'm like I don't think that Nico is a good card. These Alistair looking so bad. I don't think Nico Aris is a good Magic card. Also, but this matchup is really good. I don't think Nico's good. Sorry, I keep losing my train of thought. But I did wonder if anybody had played with it or had found like an interesting role for it, or if anybody had even cast the card at all in Constructed, because I hadn't like people were kind of hyped about it, or at least people in my chat were hyped about it. And Nico is the blue-white X Planeswalker that makes shard tokens. But I just hadn't seen anybody talking about it, so I was just wondering if someone had played with it. But I didn't have an idea for it, and I still don't. I think I'm time warping here. Yeah, the card is really cool. Someone said that it had synergy with Gadwick, because you can like tap the creatures and then use the minus to deal damage to the creatures. And then it's also like Gadwick is also an X draw spell. And so like I wonder if you could make like a Pioneer blue-white devotion with Nico in it. I think that is potentially a spot you'd want the card. Does EDH count as constructed? Yes and no. I said when I was talking about it on Twitter, I was asking about like specifically 60 card formats, but obviously it doesn't matter that much. But it can replay the Goyf if they want to. They did just draw it, right? Just ousted again. Love to draw an Ephemerate. It's a pretty good draw, though. I think we're going to oust the Goyf, attack Wrenn and 6, hold Mana Leak up, and then next turn, maybe we draw a land and we can Witness for Witness, which is pretty good in this matchup. If I put a Bolts the Ice Fang, I don't think we Mana Leak because they just have the Wrenn and 6, but maybe like getting this loyalty down does matter a lot. What other bad brew ideas did I have yesterday? So I spent a long time brewing yesterday. I was playing a red-black mid-range deck that was trying to play Witch's Cottage and Seasoned Pyromancer, because I think those two cards play really nicely together. Tyler Joe Bryan had regular chatter had talked about playing it in Modern, or a deck like that in Modern, and I wanted to try it out. And my draft, I think, was not very good. I may return to that idea, but I was specifically just having a hard time finding other good red and black creatures that play well with Cottage. Was really the problem I was having. But yeah, I may return to that idea at some point. And then I was trying out. I had like a Mardu. I spent some time building I think beating Ice Fang. I think I spent some time building a Mardu Ephemerate deck that was also playing Witch's Cottage in the mana base because you have the Mardu Triome. But then I felt like the mana base probably worked, but I was playing very few black cards. It was just Sculler and Kroxa, and then I had a Witch's Cottage mana base. And I did think the mana base worked, but I did also feel like it was probably going to be, at the end of the day, better to not play the Witch's Cottage mana base. All right, Ephemerate is infinite turns. If we draw Ephemerate this turn, we have 4 in the deck. All right, we can get Mystic Sanctuary with that at least. And so I spent some time building that, and I ended up not liking it very much either, just because it seemed better to play a mana base without Cottage. And at that point, it was just like worse in this deck. Azure Ivory, 11 months. Hope you're having a good day today. We went 4-1 the first league singles. And then I spent some time, that was the best hit possible for them, Thoughtseize. I spent some time working on this, which is something I probably will keep working on. It was just really hard. I probably spent the most time on this deck. But this was an Esper Ephemerate deck that's playing the Inverter combo. And I'm really interested in this idea. I might end up playing like Soul Herder instead of Teferi. I'm going to work on the mana base. The Watchers were like bad as they always are, but I was thinking that you could like dig for the combo with them, but Watchers are just so bad right now. When it says Goyf is lazy. Well, that was a good draw. I'm probably getting back Ice Fang again. Do I main phase the Ice Fang? It's probably fine. I don't think I want to get Time Warp. Just nothing going with the Time Warp. I know that they can also. I also know that they can Rin Ping this, but just getting the loyalty down, or like having them not sack their Peatland, is kind of good for us. Can you see the Esper Vial? I had it pulled up there for a second. I mean, you could take a screenshot. Like I would love for people to like work on this list with me, or like send me some ideas, because I'm a little stuck. Yeah, I'm a little stuck. So take a screenshot, but I'm just not really sure how to advance with that deck. Yes, yeah, you probably have to, if you play Watcher, you probably have to play Soul Herder, but not playing Teferi seems tough. The mana base is also hard to figure out, because I had a mana base with no fetch lands first that did work. And I was thinking that you didn't want to play fetch lands because you didn't want cards in your yard for Inverter, but there was like 1 or 2 spots where I would have liked to play Inverter, but I couldn't because I had no lands on my yard. So then I was trying a version with 6 fetch lands, but that ended up feeling like a little too many, so maybe you want to play like 3 or 4, something like that. Oh man, we can't double 4-drop here. I guess what we could do is just tap my opponent's team though and kill Wrenn and 6. With the Eternal Witnesses, all 3 Eternal Witnesses ganging up on Wrenn and 6, so we can leave these guys back to block. And now we can also play, now we have Vincer up. Awesome. So yeah, Soul Diviner Lockhart was something that crossed my mind too. Soul Diviner probably means you want to play a Soul Herder too, because to have something else to remove counters from. But yes, definitely a card to consider. Well, we're going to cast Vincer. I guess we're not bouncing a creature to our hand. I guess I'm going to bounce the Kroxa, since I don't want them to also just get to escape Kroxa here. That'd be pretty bad for us. Yeah, I mean, the problem with playing a Delve card is like they just don't play very well with Aether Vial. I think you want to be in a Vial deck. And one thing is, like, you can ephemerate your Inverter. If you have a lot of cards in your yard, sometimes you can just ephemerate it or Soul Herder it, thinking that exiles your whole yard. Something to think about too. Alright, they hit Kroxa off of this. Again, we have not drawn Ephemerate yet. We have 4 in these 34 cards, and if we draw it, we win. We take infinite turns immediately. Well, I guess my opponent also has attacks here, though. They probably had better attacks than this. Okay, so my opponent's probably escaping Kroxa. If I had just attacked my opponent last turn, they'd be dead this turn. Instead of the Wrenn and 6. Although I guess Wrenn and 6 could have pinged. Yeah, I don't want to like put a card in my hand necessarily to just have it get discarded to Kroxa. I think I'm just passing here with the Cryptic up. Does my current build of it play any non-permanents? Ephemerate. How do we take infinite turns with just an Ephemerate draw? We Ephemerate our Eternal Witness, we get back Time Warp, we cast Time Warp, Ephemerate rebounds, we target Eternal Witness, get back Ephemerate. Yeah, the Kroxa from hand is so good here. Yeah, Bouncing Fencer I agree is the line, although I may just play this Ice Fang now. Oh yeah, they do have Basic Forest up. Yeah, with them having Basic Forest, I think that I just want to dig for Ephemerate. I think that's going to be my win. Oh boy. Obviously they could have a spot removal spell pretty easily. Wait, so they have the mana to escape Kroxa, they're not doing it. Pulse is interesting. I think we just do start off with this, right? Is there any way Pulse... No, I think we just have to start off here. And then if they fizzle it, we can Pulse back Witness, Witness back Ephemerate, and try to do it next turn. What a game. Was Kling in your list? I didn't have Kling. Just like I was a Vile deck, so I didn't feel like Kling was that good. It's possible we could have been on Kling. So I'm just gonna Ephemerate. I'm gonna Ephemerate now, so that my opponent can't Kroxa my Ephemerate. I'm just gonna get back a land again because of the Kroxa. Although I could get back a spell to not lose the 3. Is that better? I feel like I just want the land. We're at 14, doing okay. With the Ice Fang to block the Goyf. And so now we take infinite turns next turn if our opponent doesn't have another removal spell. They had Basic Force, they couldn't escape. Well, yes, they could have because they had a Kroxa in their graveyard. They just cast the Kroxa from their hand first. Could get back Pulse. Well, the problem with getting back anything now is that it's just going to get discarded to Kroxa. So it's like we either get back a land or we get back something to not lose the 3 to Kroxa. But we're not trying to get a spell that we play next turn. How bad would Band Reclamation Turbo Fog style be? I don't see any reason to be Turbo Fog when Band has access to like really good sweepers. As for the fog portion is probably not very good, but the rest of it's probably fine. I feel like this attack reeks of desperation. That my opponent knows that they're going to lose next turn. Could be wrong about this. Obviously, if they have a removal spell, they'll respond to the rebound, and there's just no play here. If they don't respond, we win. If they do respond, we keep playing. Another Ephemerate off the top is lethal, or a combo, whatever. So it's Fatal Push. They need the Revolt. Kolaghan's Command? Yikes. Guess it's kind of hard to hope Jund doesn't have removal. Alright, Ephemerate off the top. Yes! Oh boy. What a rip. That's infinite turns, baby. And we'll find a way to win at some point in our infinite turn combo. Sorry for yelling into the mic. That's just really exciting. We were so behind this game. So now we have 2 Ephemerates going. We can get back an Ice Fang. Yeah. Oh, man. What a game. We were so behind. We had like an awkward mulligan. So behind that game. So I definitely want this Teferi Hero. I probably want like some amount of gusts. Not sure exactly how many. I think Vincer's not that good against them.
What's up? It's me, your friend Aspiring Spike.
Other cross bits for the top deck. Hell yeah. Just keep top decking and get super rich. Something like this. You have Skyclaves as our main removal spell. I think the Pulse is not that good against John. It's okay. It's like the 6 life doesn't matter that much. The Pulse has been good today. The Pulse has been good today. It's probably a card you side out a lot, but it's really nice to have access to game 1. You like this deck more than Squirrel Blade? Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think both have their merits, their strengths, their weaknesses, different metagames. A Chest, gifting a sub. Thank you, Chest. If you guys ever want to, you know, have a laugh, Chest always writes a paragraph for me in the mornings to read, which is really nice because cold opens are a bit tricky. I don't think I want Ariak Champion. I might play one. I'll play one Ariak Champion, but just like they have diminishing returns. Like sometimes they just have Goyfs and they're ignoring your champions. Like I think you can play the first champion against Jund. I don't like this hand very much, but I'm probably keeping. It's kind of hard to mulligan against Jund too aggressively. Have faith in the top of the deck. Opponent did mulligan to 6. If I knew a land was on top of my library, maybe I'd mulligan. Turn 2 Inquisition. Could have played the basic forest to bluff the Veil of Summer like I did against Jabberwocky last week. I think that was last week. It's a good draw. Could maybe get basic forest here in a bit. Opponent probably has Rin and 6 in their hand. They did mulligan this game. Ooh, Neon B, awesome. But I'm probably just gonna witness here. Drawing spell there is so good. Alright, see if they have the Ren. Yeah, it's kind of hard for them to keep that hand without Rin and 6, right? So we can attack Rin, and then we could leave up Niambi, and then respond to the ping. But I think I'm just going to main phase it. This way we don't get blown up by a removal spell. Yeah, she's a new addition, but she's been really good today, or at least like good enough that I've been happy to have one copy. Yikes. I wasn't expecting that to be their play. So now if they kill Yambi with a push, we can Time Warp to kill the Rin and 6. And I'm pretty sure we just play Teferi with Logic not up. Probably going to bounce my own Ice Fang. I think I first saw this card and constructed in TSB Jendrik's Bant Stoneblade list before the bans. He was playing one copy in a version without Hierarchs. I've been kind of interested in, you know, trying it out since then. I'm not let that resolve, I think. It's kind of close. Game over. Legacy Espervile. Yeah, probably looks good there. Oh, you know what? We could maybe add her to this deck. We have activated her ability one time. It's like mostly flavor text though. Just gonna put one in there just so I remember for whenever I start working on the deck again. Let's ephemerate in response so we don't, you know, we at least get one card if they have Fatal Push. Okay. We're 5-1 on the day with ephemerate, feeling good. Playing against Yori, I'm gonna keep. So the life gain and the flavor text is better than dodging Ridden 6, Plague Engineer, and Dart. Well, feels like kind of a loaded question. So we're playing against Niv. Kind of like forcing this. Feels like kind of a loaded question, but I think the first copy is good to play, yes. Deputy of Acquittals, I see. I mean, the life gain is huge. The life gain is huge for the deck. I do love Deputy of Acquittals, though. I don't think her activated ability is flavor text either. We do have Teferi's in the deck and Vincer. So, like, we did activate her ability today. Opponent kept the one land growth here hand. Yeah, I see. I wasn't sure exactly what you were asking with your phrasing. But like one of the main reasons we're playing it is the life gain, because without Uro, you have you have no way to gain life against the very mini prowess decks. Do I keep the decks built in paper? I'm trying to build most of the decks I work on in paper. I used to have a big modern collection and a legacy collection back in like 2016, and I ended up selling my collection back then. This resolves. So they're not Niv. They're probably like 80 card Soul Raider with or Kiki Chord, whatever. I ended up selling out of my collection back then, and I've been rebuilding it over the last like year and a half, 2 years. And I got a lot of the decks I play in paper, but not all of them yet. Working on it still. I might main phase Ephemerate. Play around removal. Niambi discarding Teferi is a flavor win. It's kind of funny to think about. I'll say yes. I guess their deck looks a little different from how I thought it did. Just an Ephemerate mirror. Yeah, Niambi's the daughter, so she's, it's a family feud. Or, maybe Teferi's like, discard me, draw cards, please. It's the only way. I think I'm just kind of happy to use my Cryptic Command this turn. You can obviously make up any nonsense for the flavor. Yeah, let's go Teferi bounce on the bird here. Kind of like getting the Teferi down. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure Niambi is good. Is this the Mardu Triome? Savai. Yeah, Mardu Triome was not a card I expected to see. So they're in black or something. Must be Siege Rhino. Probably just want to play wall with Cryptic up here. Skyclaving the bird is definitely enticing. But Cryptic's got to be good with the Teferi in play. Tribal Flames incoming. Oh yeah, that was one of the other decks I was working on yesterday. Was the Tribal Flames deck that we had messed around with, and I I was playing like a different, more aggressive version with Monastery Swiftspear. The idea is that if you can get Zaggoth Triome and Sacred Foundry in play, your Tribal Flames deal 5. And then you can kind of copy your flames with Seagate Stormcaller, Snapcaster, Dragon is good in this kind of shell, Swiftspear is good in this kind of shell. But this was another deck I was working on yesterday that didn't feel that good. Just kind of the theme of yesterday. Work on a lot of different ideas and not really solve anything. Have I considered putting Siege Rhino in this deck? In this version, the mana is too bad to do that, I think. And also Siege Rhino is underpowered in Modern. If I was going to play another color for a 4-mana creature that gained me life, I would play Omnath instead. Why erase over Wear Tear to exile Heliod? Wear Tear doesn't exile. I was thinking about playing Deicide instead. I was kind of thinking maybe the 1 mana was just better, was the idea with I was testing. I see. I spent so much time brewing yesterday. I lost a lot of play points. I feel like Deicide is maybe a card that you just kind of outsmart yourself with playing, though. Like a card that you put in your deck and you think you're going to be a genius for playing it, but it being 2 mana is maybe going to just like let you get beaten down too often. And you can also like erase Utopia Sprawl, and then Deiciding Utopia Sprawl is not that good of an exchange. Hoping they don't just like put Yorion into their hand and I don't draw an answer to it. This is totally fine though. I've seen the picture of the Pro Tour with all the Siege Rhinos on the table. Actually, I was watching live. It's awesome. I watched history happen, I guess. What a draw step. Or whatever. Might not call that a draw step, I guess. My opponent's also at 8 somehow. Didn't even really notice that. Could maybe main phase the Ephemerate. I think it's kind of good to wait, though. Especially if they have a removal spell in their hand. They can't Yorion us this turn, which is nice as well. I'll block Ice Fang on Night of Autumn. Although, the Ice Fangs are pretty deadly here, them being at 7. I think this is still a good block. You have to Teferi, they can't disrupt with removal. Yeah, so, come on, man. If they cast a removal spell at sorcery speed, I get to Ephemerate, you know? That's why I didn't Ephemerate main phase. This is like the 3rd time someone has said you have to Teferi and kind of missed the point as to like why I'm suggesting the line I'm suggesting. Because I have Teferia, holding up Ephemerate's better. I mean, I don't know that my opponent necessarily forgot about Yorion. I don't know that they have had a good window to get it. We do get to draw an extra card off Teferi, the extra card off of the Ephemerate. I think it's better to bounce Wall of Omens than it is to bounce their illusion token. They can't Yorion next turn either. How many Teferis is too many Teferis? Yeah, Niambi would be able to discard her dad. Yorion I'm pretty scared of Yorion going to the hand. Another Restoration Angel drawn is pretty scary too. I guess we have Skyclave for it. Would love to like force Eldritch Evolution. No, they did remember Yorion. It's always kind of funny when they don't. Well, I'm really hoping to find a counterspell. Yorion's going to draw them so many cards. Don't think their illusion token matters, though. Okay. That's a counterspell. Do I want to get Cryptic, though, or do I want to get... Oh, I thought I had Logic Knot. yeah, just get Cryptic, and then we can trade Ice Fang for Resto. Should have the game locked up. Meddling Mage and Esper Vial. I like the suggestion, Vanden. Let me put that in the sideboard. I don't know if that I would main deck Meddling Mage, but it seems like at least an interesting sideboard option. I'll just put some over here for when I return to work on the deck. Red mana, green. It's probably Eldritch Evolution, which I'll force pitching to Fairy. Oh. Magus of the Moon. Wow. I guess I just let this resolve. They can't cast Yorion. Yeah, they just can't cast Yorion. Just Skyclave it. Oh, we'll Skyclave it next turn. I don't want to Skyclave it now because they can cast Yorion. They didn't float mana. Well, the problem with instep claving it is we don't have the white mana. Wait, they have Kiki Jiki? Oh no, they just thought they could cast Yorion. Whew, scared for a second. Their hand was if their hand is exactly Magus Kiki Jiki. No. Okay, it's another Resto. Which is good for them for sure. Let's not discount that. Cryptic Tap is lethal. Well, the problem is we can't Cryptic Tap without ephemerating the Skyclave because we don't have enough blue mana. Why didn't they float the mana? Because they made a mistake. Just play Teferi and bounce Magus. Yeah. Yeah. That's maybe better. I mean, this is also going to win the game, you know? It's like I don't think we need to go necessarily for that line. Oh, although maybe it was better to just I'm trying to think of what they could have to kill us. There's not much besides like exactly lightning bolts, but it doesn't really feel like playing around like a random bolt is that high a cost in this spot. We're just so ahead. Cape Man Army, 4 months, good username. Welcome back. But that was probably the better line because they would have to have just like a random lightning bolt to beat us there. They couldn't even cast Chord of Calling. We knew one of their 2 cards in hand. These matchups are always really weird. Gust is looking pretty good against them. I probably want like the first oust to loop with Witness. Maybe like 2 Force of Negations. Forcing their Utopia Sprawl on turn 1 was also ended up working out so well. Probably want to cut the 3rd Wall of Omens. Could maybe bring in Teferi. I think we went 4 Gust. I think Gust is good against them. Maybe it's too many. Maybe we could do something like this. Probably do want the Teferi. Probably don't want 2 Venser. Could see cutting this. No Soul Hoarder 1 or 2. No, I don't. So a Soul Hoarder is not good. So like if imagine you just cut like Teferi Time Raveler, 1 Teferi Time Raveler for a Soul Hoarder. I don't think that we play enough creatures to support Soul Hoarder in our deck. To play Soul Hoarder, your deck needs to be almost exclusively creatures and Ephemerate, and usually you get to play like 1 more non-creature spell. So like this is an example. Okay. Bye. This is an example of a Soul Hoarder deck where you get to play Ephemerate, Elodarmu's Call, Chord of Calling, and in order to make Soul Hoarder work, and we're only even playing a couple of copies because the card is just not that powerful. Or I should maybe rephrase that. The card is powerful, but it's super fragile. It's a 3 mana 1/1 in a Lava Dart format. It's a card that in order to make work, you have to play so many creatures to make it work. while Ephemerate is more powerful than Soul Herder, Ephemerate is the better of the two cards. And because it's so good, you need to jump through less hoops in order to support it, you know? The card is so good that you don't need to play as many enablers for it to be a functional card in your deck. And because we have that, we can afford to play a lot of interactive spells like the Cryptics, the Logic Knot, the Force of Negations, the Oust, the Teferis, when you can't afford to do that if you're a Soul Herder deck, I think. Sounds really good if we draw a land in the top two, but I'm going to mulligan. At least that's the theory behind playing no Soul Herder. And it's been working for me thus far. Sounds good. Got the Bant Triumph in this hand. Voice. You don't love it to be popular is a big reason why it's better in Legacy. Absolutely, yeah. Just creatures in general, and funny enough, end up being more powerful in Legacy to some extent because there's a lot less spot removal in Legacy. So like at least creatures that like you really want to untap with, it's much easier to just like untap with a Soul Herder in Legacy. Where in Modern it's tricky. What's with the 315 after name deck? It's today's date. I don't usually do that as my deck naming conventions. I have a lot of versions of this deck in progress, so it felt kind of good to differentiate today. Okay. Glasspool Mimic. It's fine. But what do I want to Skyclave? Probably this voice, because this is probably better to flicker. The Mimic version. Yeah, in the Stream Decker, I often will just like put whatever they're called in my Magic Online deck logs, and sometimes it does get a bit chaotic, the deck names. Wall of Blossoms. Wooded Foothills. 3 cards left in hand. Opponent does not seem to be F6'd. I'm going to main phase this, obviously, though, because of the Voice of Resurgence. I think it's better to just try to draw a land. I'm not, like, really that worried about this Voice. Might just block if they attack. What does it count as a 2/2 or a 3/3? It's 3. That's weird, because when we exiled it, it was CMC2. But Skyclave says 3 on it. I was expecting 2 because CMC is a copyable, you know, asset, whatever you want to call that. Yeah, it's kind of an interesting rule spot. This Mardu Triumph is still weirding me out. Good beats, I guess. Surprised my opponent left that in. Magus in their deck also seems super greedy, but I guess I'm just being a classic Magic player where I'm getting got by an opponent's card and I'm complaining about it. Let's go to game 3. Just don't really have outs from this spot. There's like no one land we could draw. On the play, I'm kind of down for 4 Gust. I don't think I went on for the nice. I think Aether Gust is like my removal spell of choice here. I mean, my opponent's 5 colors. My opponent has the Mardu. Yeah, my opponent has 5 colors and they've got Magus. This hand is at least good against Magus. I want to play Prismatic Vista, getting basic Island on turn 1. This way I could cast Ice Fang on turn 2 if I draw it. This is the second... I mean, we actually haven't seen our opponent cast Ephemerate. Surely it's in their deck, though. But the second time today we played a matchup like this. Overgrown 2. We also haven't seen a black card yet. Just fixing the mana for Kiki-Jiki. So actually, yeah, it's actually kind of real. Hello, Logic Knot. Sorry, we don't have double blue. Good keep. I mean, you've got an overgrown tomb and an abundant growth. You're gonna draw the land, clearly. Easy keep. They keep 7. Yep. They're on the draw too. I've definitely kept hands like that. Yeah, the Enigmatic Incarnation deck is pretty cool. It does seem like there are like lots of people who really like that deck. No, we definitely don't bounce with Teferi here. I was thinking about gusting this, but then that played really hard into Veil of Summer. Not bouncing that either. Just gonna draw a card. Not a very good card. Used to play Mystic Gate in this deck. Kind of missing it right now. Could be maybe good to gust the growth in that spot. Probably not. Classic shock and stomping ground against Teferi, then pass. Guess they... Yeah, why would they shock here? They have activated. They have a cycle land? Surely this is just like a Triumph. Wait, no, they don't have Triumph in their hand. Yeah. They would have played Triumph. Main phase Aether Gust, because they got something they want to resolve. But Aether Gust doesn't do anything against their hand currently. To fairy mana. Oh my gosh. Probably should have bounced growth, right? Whatever. We're actually not doing so bad anymore with that draw. I don't know if I'd say we're doing so good. Maybe not so bad is also not accurate. What a weird game this has been. Really weird game. I was hoping to draw Skyclave. My opponent has their own Skyclave. I don't think I'm bouncing Teferi. Just bounce the Overgrown Tomb. Oust this guy. We have attackers for this next turn. Weird decks from our opponents usually make for weird games. Wise words from Fiery Justice. I'm ready for my opponent to cast Siege Rhino. Surely that's what the black is for, right? Was the printing of Skyclave a mistake or just what white he did? I don't think it was a mistake. I think it is like it was a good card to print for Modern, especially because white felt a bit lacking. Well, what are we supposed to do to get around these walls? If we draw a blue source, we can tap draw, kill Teferi. Didn't draw the blue source. Well, at least we found a cool line. I've never done this before. Don't try this at home, kids. Man, I love finding cool lines. I mean, this isn't like the most powerful thing ever, but it is one of my favorite things to just like find a line I've never taken before. Nothing really matters anyone can see. Nothing really matters to Teferi. Oh boy. Now they haven't cast Omnath yet. Glad I boarded on all these gusts. Kind of nice that this is a 4/4 token to attack through the walls. Yeah, I mean, this is definitely part of like sideboarding, right? Is against a deck like this, you don't know exactly what you want. But I mean, the gusts have got to be good. They're like a Magus of the Moon, Voice of Resurgence, Veil of Summer, Chord of Calling deck. Well, speaking of, we probably can't win if this Yorion resolves. Maybe we can. Can't quite time warp. You think maybe they don't have the right Triome in their deck? That would maybe explain some things. If we had one more land and could E-Whip back Time Warp here, I could see maybe winning this game. As it stands, we probably have to draw a Skyclave Apparition off of Ice Fang, which we have not done. I guess I'm going to Gust the Growth. If they put it on the bottom, they don't get to flicker it with Yorion. If they do put it on top, it eats the mana. Now you definitely can't win if Yorion resolves. Maybe. It's possible somehow, if we draw like Ephemerate and Skyclave Apparition, we could maybe take infinite turns. They're tapping for black. They're tapping for black. 5 mana. Wait, they have Bring to Light in their deck? Yeah, so they can Bring to Light for Kiki Jiki? Wow. Well, GG's opponent. Cool match. I'm so happy I got to do the line Ephemerate Devenser, bounce the island. It's always cool to take a new line. Definitely not, don't need to subscribe to enjoy the channel. I don't know how some people can be so lucky to have Colonnade turn 1, but what am I supposed to do? What am I even supposed to do here? I think we're supposed to main phase the Ice Fang. There's like not much we'd want to mana leak here, jokes aside. Yeah, memes aside about Colonnade. So my opponent fetches, I think I'm responding to the fetch with Ephemerate on the Ice Fang, and if they have Path, we can mana leak and still get at least one draw. Although it's kind of bad if they have Path plus Teferi Time Raveler. Max, 12 months. Happy anniversary, dude. Hope you're having a good day today. Do I say that every time? Now I'm all self-conscious about it. I don't think I say it every time. Has anyone told me I look great today? No, I don't think so. But thank you. Mana leak at the ready. Fire. Not that big a deal if this resolves. I'm not going to shuffle away the Ice Fang on top, if I can help it. They force pitching Cryptic though, so now I'm worried about them having their own Planeswalker to resolve. Like it's a Teferi Time Raveler. Skyclave would be a good draw though. Or Bant Triome. Opponent notably didn't have a land to play. You're gonna say you're totally fine with the outs. Yeah, I think we still want to use the Mana Leak there, but it's not that big a deal. Like, I'm happy that I just traded Mana Leaks. Well, I've maybe drawn this a turn too late, and maybe I'm supposed to actually play the Skyclave pre-combat. It's kind of want to like maybe make my opponent tap out for like a Typhoon on one. We can at least pay for Mana Leak. They have to have Archmage's Charm or Logic Knot here. They have Logic Knot. Well, I'll play my Heath, so I can Death Touch a Shark, I suppose. Why not leak it? Oh, no, I forgot to Mana Leak. Crap. I had Mana Leak, I could have Mana Leaked the Logic Knot. Why didn't I Mana Leak? Let me ask Teferi. Teferi, do you think I should have Mana Leaked the Logic Knot there? What's that, Teferi? You're tired of my sass? You're tired of people complaining about you? Just cast your sorceries, your spells at sorcery speed and like it? Okay, Teferi, sorry. Sorry for complaining. Tips on beating Squirrelblade as blue-white control. I think my tip is good luck. The matchup seems really hard for you. I'm done. Let's go to game 2. I'm done. Thank you, game. Let's just play the next one over it. I think this is how I want to sideboard. I used to have Veil of Summers. I don't have them anymore. Yeah, the Mana Leak on the... Or, like... I mean, obviously so many things went wrong for us that game. Them having the Force for the Teferi, them having their own Teferi, them having Logic Knot or Archmage's Charm for the Skyclave that we top decked a turn too late, then we flooded out. There's not much to be done, I guess. I'm keeping... I think I'm actually going to play Island on turn 1. I don't really know exactly what I'm fetching, because I kind of want to get Floodplain, I kind of want to get Breeding Pool. So maybe just waiting a turn on the dual land decision will be good. I also was probably supposed to main phase Ice Fang like I did game 1. Although, actually it's probably good not to in this spot, since if they counter it, we can E-Wit it back an Ice Fang, which is kind of nice. And here, I think I'm holding up Hardcast Force for their possible Teferi rather than jam an Eternal Witness. But if I didn't have the Force, if this was just a land, I'd probably jam to have some pressure in play against a Teferi. Now I think I'm getting Breeding Pool tapped. It's a fine draw. So we can get Prairie Stream if we feel like we need to cast Cryptic this turn, or if we need to cast Cryptic this turn, and we can get Glacial Floodplain if we don't. The 1/1 Shark, sure. Narset should be symmetrical, and her -2 should draw a card instead of Impulse. So then you could combo it. You could have the 5-mana Nicol Bolas Dragon God, and then the 6-mana EDH Teferi, and then you can Nicol Bolas Dragon God to copy the -2 to draw a card on your opponent's turn, so that you can actually draw a card. Just a pretty easy 3-card combo. So they want to trade Shark for Ice Fang here. I think that's a trade I'm okay making, because I want to just E-Whip back the Ice Fang, the Ice Fang, but maybe not this turn. Just take the trade now. Yeah, next turn we can maybe go E-Wit with Force of Negation up, or the ability to pay for Mana Leak. Maybe just play Ewit plus ice plus Teferi next turn. I might Cryptic Command to bounce a land here. It's kind of nice because they have to discard a card. Kind of nice. Like this is not something that this is a 2-for-1 if it resolves because they discard a card and we get a land off the field on the turn we're about to start casting spells. They fetch now. Afraid of Tail's End, of course, as all good gamers should be. So I think I'm going to lead on Eternal Witness here. See what they do. All right, now I think I'm just passing back. How does Narset work with Dredge? The Dredge mechanic beats Narset's static ability. If they just replace the draw with a Dredge, so they're not drawing, they're dredging. All right, I'll take the card advantage off the Witness. Probably just getting an island here. Our mana's pretty good. Probably don't need to think too hard on which land to get. Not true. Not true that Narset beats Dredge. You can dredge through a Narset. I believe so. Unless that's not what Canister is responding to. If the player has drawn a card that turn, they won't have an opportunity to dredge. That's not my understanding of the rules. I could just be wrong though. Do we have any judges here? Judge? Canister is right. Well, I guess I'm wrong. I'm sure I'm wrong. If they didn't draw, they can dredge all they want. Huh. I didn't know that's how it worked. I thought because like they weren't drawing, they're replacing their draw with a dredge. That Narset just never beat them if they had the ability to dredge. Learn something new every day. I guess I'm gonna cast the Wall of Omens here. I kind of don't want to draw Prairie Stream, so I'll probably fetch before I draw. That would be worked if they dredge as their first draw. Oh, I see. I understand. Yes. So if they dredge as their first draw, got it. Yeah. So if they only have dredges as their draws, they can just keep dredging because they never drew their first card to begin with. Makes sense. It's kind of cool. Weird interaction. Do I want to play Niambi? I think I do, even though we don't have Ephemerate up. That Dovin's veto was so brutal. Witness is kind of nice. Probably gonna Witness back to Fairy. See what they do. Do I have 8 mana? I do have 8 mana, so like if they Cryptic Command my Witness, we could just try to jam to Fairy. It feels kind of loose to let Cryptic Command resolve, especially when this Witness is so nice. Yeah, I mean, I know this isn't Cryptic, but I think I'm still fighting here. If they force my force, good beats. They did pitching Snapcaster. Force of Negation was gonna get us with Ideal Line. They only have 3 cards left in their hand though. How did the first league? We 4-1 the first league. Can't remember what our loss was to. I'm sure someone in chat, or maybe no one in chat's been around that long. Looks like a Jace. So you have Skyclave 4. I think I'm gonna respond to a possible Brainstorm with Ephemerate. I guess we also like we just gonna attack it for 3. Just gonna try to get a draw 2 off. E-tron, that's right. Yeah. They had some pretty good draws. Forgot about that. Should we play Mystic Snake for the Ephemerate value? I don't know if I'd play Mystic Snake or what's the new Mystic Snake, the elf. Field Mystic. I was playing with a stress ball. I broke it. Not a good sign. Not a good sign at all. Might have to change shirts because it had like some goo in it. Be fine, I think. So we get to go Skyclave their Jace, play Teferi. If their last two cards are blue card forest, then they're Hellbent. Throw that Brush is mana tough. Yeah, you're right. Probably better to play Snake. I think Vincer is better. I should say I think Vincer is better. I guess it's better to play Teferi first. Vincer is better because it just against the big mana decks, which is where you really want it bouncing permanence is such a big deal. And I think I would have just Pulse of Marasad back Eternal Witness in my instep there. But we're going to game 3. Niambi is a 2-mana 2/1 flash. When it enters, you may return another creature to your hand, and if you do, you gain life equal to that creature's CMC. Then you can also spend 3 mana to discard a legendary card and draw 2. We only have the Teferis and the Vincers as other legendary cards, but we have done it once. That part of the card is not super relevant. I'll keep this. Sorry, mana value. Mana value. All praise, mana value. Drawing 2 planes is a little weird here. Makes the hand kind of much worse. We'd play exactly 2. How is mana value easier to understand? You know, I don't think mana value sounds very good coming off of the tongue. Neither did converted mana cost, but it did have a really snazzy acronym, right, in CMC. Really snazzy acronym. And I've yet to hear anybody suggest anything better, so I don't know. Obviously not a really big deal. We had this convo the other day. I mean, yeah, the stream is just like the same 3 conversations over and over again, of course. It's not have any presumption otherwise. You know, see if my opponent wants to force my Ephemerate. I'm doing this now so they can't have Path. If they Path my Ice Fang before I untap, that's just kind of fine. I guess I'm getting Island here, and then probably Breeding Pool with this Misty. And then we have double green because of the Ewit. Yeah, the stream is just like, you know, the same 3 conversations over and over and over again till the end of time. Locked into ceaseless combat till the end of time. I always thought that line was super cool in Naruto. Then it ended up being not really true, which always bummed me out. Discarding to hand size is kind of bad here. I think we still are doing it. Oh, never mind. Oh, we still discarded hand size, but I think I'm also ephemerating. Now we can get Forest and Prairie Stream here, maybe? Yeah, ceaseless filler episodes. True, true, true. Yeah, I'll get the second breeding pool with this. Untap, Ephemerate, Ice Fang, see what they do. See what we draw. But a weird game when neither player has just jammed a Planeswalker yet. I kind of like jamming an Eternal Witness. I'm supposed to play another white source, though. Probably doesn't really matter that much. So I think this is just not resolving. Oh, wow, it resolved. Well, hard to complain too much about that, I guess. It's been a while since I played Sun. Does it suck in the new meta? Kinda, yeah. Like that deck is pretty like it's like a worse version of Jeskai against the aggro decks. And there are approximately 1 billion aggro decks in this format, so I think that you want to play Blood Sun if the metagame gets like if it's like all big mana and grindy decks, and you know some, you know, other decks, but mostly those two. If I attack, is my opponent gonna animate Colonnade? I'll attack with Witness, because if they fire up Colonnade, then we just ephemerate the Witness. Is Lavinia playable in the sideboard versus Tron? I think Collector Oof is better. But yeah, you can play Lavinia. It's a card that's on my radar. It's a card I'd consider. I'm trying to have a hard time figuring out what my opponent's hand contains. They've cast an opt and done nothing else this whole game. Yeah, Lavinia is or I guess I don't have Lavinia in my drafts of Esper yet, but I've got Niambi. Lavinia is also definitely a card we could consider in the Esper deck. Alright, our clock got pretty serious here. I wonder how many verdicts, if any, my opponent left in. I mean, yeah, maybe they had verdict last turn. I mean, verdict's also just not that bad for us, I think. It's not good, but we just get to rebuild really easily. Like all of these cards have drawn a card, so we're not, you know, losing too much card advantage by getting verdicted. And if they don't have verdicts, it's gonna be hard for them to win, I think. I think I want to start off with a hard cast Force of Negation. See how the rest of this turn goes. And so I think I'm going to fire off an Ephemerate, targeting one of the Ice Fangs. Yeah, they also like they don't have Verdict, so good for us. And now I could have maybe pulsed to get a land, actually. Could have been the line. I think my opponent's hand is just bad, is kind of the conclusion I've come to here. My opponent just doesn't have a lot of action. I mean, they did have the nut draw though with the Colonnade, so it's hard to complain too much if they're them. Like, maybe I drew all lands, but I did have the Colonnade, so I'm not in my rights to complain. Kind of confused that they have a Cryptic. Alright, I think I'm just going to ephemerate my Witness now. Pick up another Force of Negation for their turn. Just try to stop them from sticking a Planeswalker. What? Maybe they just drew it. We're really ahead here. But like Verdict and Cryptic were two cards I kind of had like ruled out because my opponent just was so reluctant to cast them. This is one of my favorite plays. Respond to the Ephemerate trigger with Ice Fang, so you make sure you get to draw your card. They must have just drawn that. Maybe. It would make sense for them to have just drawn it, but it's kind of hard to really figure things out here. I'm gonna use Mana Leak while I can. Put this over here with the rest of the Force of Negations. Probably just hardcasting Force. Their hand has 2 counter spells. Good beats, I suppose. Do I have access to a Skyclave? I don't. Okay, their hand was not 2 Mana Leaks. Would have been really good if it was, though. Now I get to, you know, start taking over the game again. Probably plussing this. Witness back Ephemerate, have Logic not up. Keep the Ice Fang back to block the Colonnade. Although we can just Ephemerate the Ice Fang. Yeah, if they fire up the Colonnade. Then there's like not much they can do post-combat. They know I have the Ephemerate though. I just love it when you Logic Knot for exactly X equals 4, then you get to feel like your brain is gigantic. Because Mana Leak wouldn't have countered the spell. Like Esper makes you better against small creatures because you get Fatal Push, and Jeskai makes you better against big mana because you get Cleansing Wildfire, and then Bant makes you grindier. Guess we're going to 5. Hand was just so... Go to 4. Have to go to 4. This hand just doesn't do enough. My 4-card hand is 3 lands Eternal Witness, I think. Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of reason to be Grixis, especially when like just straight Dimir like is doing what Grixis would be doing but stronger. What do I think of Blue-Red Kiki or Breach? I played Breach earlier today. I think Breach is pretty solid. Kiki seems fine too. I know Timu top 8'd the challenge over the weekend with Kiki Jiki. Playing against Niv maybe? Mold to 4 on the play against Niv is bad, but if this is Niv, Teferi does shut off Bring to Light. Get a plus so it doesn't die to a burn spell. Could main phase the Ephemerate maybe. I still recommend using the Wildfire build for Jeskai. Absolutely, and I think without like the Wildfire Flagstones plan, there just isn't really much reason to be Jeskai. Oh, they're playing 80 card Soul Rider. How could I have been so blind? Well, our draw was kind of good against theirs. How would I rate the different blue X combinations of control decks? I don't know. It's kind of like what I need to figure out, though. I really like Jeskai. I really like Bant. I think that Esper is good too, and Esper might be the best. Just hard to say for sure. They all do very different things. Again, Esper makes you better against small creatures. Bant makes you better at grinding. Jeskai makes you better at beating up on big mana decks. So that's my evaluation, I guess. Maybe because of that, Esper is the best. But although, like, I've been loving Jeskai because there is big mana in this format, and like Jeskai is also good against the creature decks too. It's not like Jeskai is just bad. You get Helix, which is huge right now. We're so dead. We're so dead. Can't bring myself to concede in this spot though. How did Sunday go? I think I went 3-2 drop, and then I spent like 8 hours brewing. And not super successfully either. I was messing around with like red black mid range with Witch's Cottage and Seasoned Pyromancer, and I was messing around with like the Sultai Triumph Sacred Foundry Tribal Flames deck. That didn't go so well. And I was trying like an Esper Ephemerate Vile deck that was playing the Inverter combo. And I tried out like a blue-black version of the Goria's Vengeance Bruno combo deck. That one actually went okay. But I was trying to have like a new sweet brew for Monday. Like I usually try to have something new on Mondays. It's obviously not like a concrete thing, but ideally if I could just have something new on Mondays, that would be nice. I just couldn't. I feel like none of the lists were able to get like tuned enough to play today. Nonsense, 2 months, welcome back. Do I still like Ginger Urza? I do. I think Ginger Urza is reasonable. It's something that like I want to continue working on, but I also kind of, it would be nice if some other people, some Urza stands could like maybe tune the list a little bit, because I'm not sure what direction it should go into. But maybe I'll have to do it myself. Let's go to game 2. A lot of flicker mirrors today. It's like the third Soul Herder / Ephemerate Kiki Chord kind of mirror today. You fancy brewing something? Work on this list for me. Take a screenshot. Figure it out. Esper Ephemerate with the Inverter combo. Maybe add Nyambi to the main deck. This is like maybe main deck, maybe Meddling Mage side. It's because people will be listening to the dive down. Maybe, yeah. Actually, a pretty good point. Hopefully. Everyone should listen to the dive down. Yeah, sideboarding is tough in this matchup too. Wasn't expecting to play against these decks this many times. I feel like Oust is not that good. Let's just submit this. Yeah, Torpor would have been pretty good out of the side of some of these decks today. We actually played against Torpor about an E-Tron. Haven't seen the Inverterless Canisters playing. Yeah, I like it. I think that deck is good. Or like good enough, I should maybe say. But I just been wanting to try out a different version. Like try a different direction with the vials and the ephemerates, and I think that there is something to that too potentially. I just haven't found a great draft yet. What's my favorite type of pie? Don't really like pie that much, I guess. Pie is just kind of medium dessert. It's not bad. I think I'm ousting that bird. I think that their mana matters more than their giver here. Seems like a bad matchup. What's my favorite dessert? I like cheesecake. Cheesecake's good. I really don't like dessert very much, honestly, though. It's okay. I have to be in the mood for it. I just don't like sweets that much. Oh, I was probably supposed to get Temple Garden, actually. Mistake. Yeah, cheesecake is good. Like, again, I don't like. Oh, they put as Bolt. Ooh, my list wasn't playing Bolts. Seems like a good innovation, and I just didn't get the Temple Garden. Temple Garden says, "Don't worry, I am here to fix your mistakes again." And sassy Temple Garden. Yeah, maybe have gotten back Oust this turn. I kind of like just starting the loop. But don't forget to fetch me again, Aspiring Spike. I'll be watching. Temple Garden, I used to play just like green-white, green-white cards and in Standard when I was first getting into Magic, and then I opened all 4 Temple Gardens for my green-white decks out of packs, I think. I think maybe I traded for 1. But I have a particular affinity or liking for this particular art of Temple Garden. I guess I want to be able to cast Skyclave. Opponent has 1 card left in their hand. If it's Bolt here or Removal Spell, we get to Ephemerate in response. It's pretty good. Is it Path? Oh, they're Ephemerating their Skyclave, I see. But this works out for us. They should have let me target here. This was a mistake on their part. The mistake that lets me draw an extra card. Although now I don't have enough mana to cast the Skyclave. And they do have an Ephemerate coming off the rebound. But now we can Venser with the Ephemerate on the stack. Oh, they have 2? Yikes. It's unfair. They have 80 cards. I have 60. I should draw more Ephemerates than them. Oh, they didn't kill my Skyclave, which is... I think I like that for me. They're 1 mana shy of getting me with Yorion. They have 2 new cards in hand. Oh, they drew Chord of Calling. Probably getting Soul Herder here, right? Soul Herder looking pretty good in this spot. No, they're going bigger than that. Omnath? Why would you tap Giver of Runes? I guess they have something else. Okay, get back Ephemerate, Ephemerate Witness, get back Ephemerate, get back Bolts. But they could have had Giver up, right? We're probably not beating this. This seems like a bad matchup. Like, they're a version of our deck that is just designed to be more grindy than ours is. So we could Venser in response to this. But I think we just need to counter... Oh, they have 2 Ephemerates coming down. Alright, we're dead. I think. I don't think we can win. They have 2 Ephemerates coming down. I guess we can just Skyclave their Witness, but then they have Yorion. Right, I'm gonna not rebound this, or I'm gonna not flicker. I'm gonna take a draw step. Yeah, we just need to Skyclave their Witness. And then, like, have our opponent not have good spells or 1 land to play Yorion. And they get to draw 2 new cards here, so... I don't know, I'm not seeing the line to victory. But probably not quite good enough to concede yet. What was I playing instead of the Flynn play before Kaldheim came out? I was playing 2 Mystic Gates. Instead of the Floodplain and the Reflecting Pool. But that was also so that basic planes could escape Uro. Might still be good to play 1 Mystic Gate. Wow, my opponent didn't have... They just didn't Yorion here, man. Yorion was so much better than this line. Wow, Yorion was so much better than this line, right? Maybe there's a chance. Yeah, actually, if we get to tap their team and Time Warp, we win. Unreal. You have to just go Yorion in hand, cast Yorion, we go counter tap, Time Warp, kill them. They attacking first. Oh no, they have Chord of Calling. I think we still tap draw. I don't know what they're going to chord for exactly. Probably Witness. Yeah, this was sloppy. Why couldn't they just cast the Yorion? So they might not cast the Bolt yet. And then that gives us outs to draw a counterspell for the Bolt. They're getting Court of Calling? Why would they get Court of Calling? We know our opponent's hand is Yorion, Court of Calling, not Lightning Bolt, right? Or at least not the Bolt in the graveyard. I mean, we're 1 mana short of having a 4 mana spell up. I know we could go Cryptic with Venser up. I think I'm just casting Time Warp. I think my opponent just didn't play around it. Must have misclicked? Maybe. It felt like their play was deliberate. I was not expecting to see this on the screen. Aspiring Spike wins. It's very rare that I ever see it, but this game didn't seem like that was going to happen. Wild. I was so close to just conceding. Should have waited for you to resolve Cryptic. Well, if they ever resolve Cryptic, they can't court. That's good. Let's keep. This Misty's probably getting Temple Garden. High S9. Skyclave, I think, is the best card in the matchup. Also really good for us. They didn't have a turn 1 dork. They court for Witness, then let Cryptic resolve, then bounce it. Yes, yeah, you're right. Fair enough. Yeah, so a couple of missed sequences from them that game. Again, this matchup's really tough though. We have to like contend with them having a 7-card hand on the play. But I will say that our strength in this matchup is that we have Teferi Time Raveler and our opponent doesn't. So we get to go Ice Fang off of Temple Garden, Teferi Time Raveler, bounce their Hierarch. That's not Athena barking, by the way. It's the rude dog from downstairs. I think I'm not going to play around Avalanche Riders. I think that Riders probably get boarded out in this matchup. Yeah, Athena's very polite. Are there any winter effects for non-land permanents in Modern? I don't know. Well, was wrong about that one. Would I play a donation deck list about Bent, Red Mage, and Pioneer with Toski? Maybe. Let me think. I feel like the Pioneer donation decks haven't been... The views on them haven't been great. Not that that matters a ton. I would look at a list and I would approve or deny it based on how it looked. I also don't have a second Temple Garden to fetch here. I think I'm going to ephemerate my Ice Fang post-combat. Do I do donation decks for Legacy? Yeah. I mean, I think all donation decks just kind of go through the same I don't do Pauper or like Commander or Standard, but you donate, and then if I'm down, I'm down, and if I'm not, I'll just refund you the donation. So, which I don't usually have to do. Like almost all the decks I get are really sweet and cool. Just like some of them just like have problems, and if it doesn't specifically say like you can tweak this a bit, then I usually don't play it. If it doesn't have like the, hey, I know things are a little shaky, you can make some changes. Yeah, I will play Standard for 1 million channel points, of course. I'm just getting a tap breeding pool here. Getting my Temple Garden blown up is so brutal here, of course. Can maybe get Floodplain, actually. We have another green off of the Flooded Strand. So my opponent is very likely to be on Chord of Calling here. So I'm probably going to be Vincering the Chord back to their hand and then forcing it on their turn. I guess we could also just force it and then... I mean, if I was going to force it, should I have ousted the Hierarch? Kind of like Vincering it. They're just going to let me go to discard though. Sure. Discard Oust. I think I'm just going to Ephemerate. This card's not legal, right? Yeah. This card doesn't exist yet. So I guess I can't play exactly that list. I think for now, I think I will... Yeah, I mean, maybe, I don't like these Azurius Charms, is one thing I'll say. I don't think these are... What's going on? It's weird. Yeah, I don't like the Azurius Charms in that list. I don't like the illegal cards either. Just hardcast Force. If I hardcast Force, they get the Chord for 3. Whatever. I think they have Chord, but I think we just do this. I don't remember if there was Dromoka's. I think there was Dromoka's Command in that deck. Dromoka's Command seems like a card that should be in there. I don't think you want Aether Vials in this version. I've seen people play them with Aether Vials. I know some people like Aether Vials in this deck. I think that you're better off without them. I'm gonna pass it back. If my opponent doesn't do anything, I'll probably go Diambi, replay Ice Fang. I could see just counter drawing right now. My opponent can't Yorion. This is a bit tricky, but we also have like Skyclaves to answer just like any permanents that they play. I really want to use my Cryptic this turn. How many channel points to play Yu-Gi-Oh? For 1 million channel points, I will learn how to play Yu-Gi-Oh off stream. Play the arena beginner decks on a ladder. That actually sounds really funny. I might do that. I might play like 3 matches for the million channel points on arena or something. Oh, I guess I don't have the beginner decks anymore. I have an arena account. I just don't have a collection. Yikes. Right, I can fetch up another breeding pool. I'll trade Ice Fangs. I don't think this is that bad for us. Unless they have a Fim. It's not too bad either. Wait, they no attacks? What the heck? So they have Chord of Calling? Why wouldn't they Chord first? They probably have Force of Negation? Could just have been a misclick. Could have just been a misclick. Yeah, I mean, it's probably Chord. I think I'm still just going to Witness here. If they wait to Chord on their turn for some reason, we can Force. It's also like definitely possible my opponent just misclicked. Like they didn't, like if they had Chord, I feel like they would have Chorded on our instep last turn. They do have it. I'm not really sure what they're getting. Maybe Resto. Man, Oust is so bad in this matchup. Glad I didn't get my Riders here. Can they Yorion me next turn? No, not even with a land. They got 1 card in their hands. They didn't pay Echo. They got a spell. GG. GG. It was a great match. I think this is a really bad matchup for us. Well played. Easy keep. I don't know why I have all these blue and green lands in my mono white deck. Put a Molza 6 on the play. Aside from the fact it's not legal, thoughts on Quadrix command. I can't remember exactly what it does, honestly. I'll reread it when it comes out. I remember not liking it that much. I feel like of all the new commands, probably the best one for modern is going to be the Golgari one. Although again, I don't remember exactly what they all do. I think the blue-red one is okay. It competes really hard with Shark Typhoon, Kolaghan's Command, and Archmage's Charm, though, for that kind of effect. Snapcaster, too, to some extent. They'll play good with Snapcaster, kind of. Ooh. Urza. Skyclave is pretty good against Urza. Yeah, I think the blue-red one is very medium, I agree. It's not a bad card. They have Imri. Imri has been cast. They have Explosives and Wishclaw Talisman. Might be a little too slow on the draw here. Maybe we can find a blue card to slow them down. That is a blue card. Oh, maybe we're supposed to fetch a little different. Or just get basic planes into Breeding Pool. We could have gone Breeding Pool into basic planes next turn. Probably doesn't matter a ton. Okay, so my opponent is they can get their Thopters going, but they're only gonna get one Thopter before we Skyclave the Foundry. Although they can, if they. Okay, so they're going to replay Mox Amber off of Imri, and I need to force it, because they can just actually sack their Thopter Foundry, and they can get it back with Engineer. But if we force their Mox Amber, then we can stop them here. Cool game. Yeah, opponent's deck looks cool. I like the Wishclaw Talisman. They're probably just playing like one, but I'm into it. Talisman, I feel like, is a pretty underplayed card. It's also just a tricky card. They get their Talisman. Are they going to wish? When you wish upon a claw. Any merit to eating a sword instead? I think it's better to hit the Foundry. The sword does a lot less on its own. I decided whether to claim the Sword of the Foundry. I mean, like, if I knew my opponent's deck list contained 4 Thopter Foundry, 1 sword, I obviously hit the sword, but the Foundry does so much more by itself, just like sacking Witching Wells and stuff. Just making tokens is much more powerful than giving +1/+2. Can you sacrifice a talisman in response to it going to your opponent? I don't believe so. Yes, actually, I think you can. Yeah, I believe this ability goes on the stack. I don't really know why it wouldn't. I think we're going into damage control mode. Get rid of the talisman and the wait, is it better to get I think it's better to get rid of the talisman than the engineer. Yeah, I don't really feel like the engineer's doing much here. While blocking this illusion token feels so good all the time. Can you select this with? This is just one free Thopter, basically. Although, I guess we also have to get rid of the Goblin. Yeah, I think basic planes makes me want to just Skyclave the sword right now. Definitely under pressure. Oh, just Witching Well, okay. Whew. Urza would have been bad for me. I think I'm gonna trade a Skyclave and a token too. I know the Ephemerate would be a good draw. Thank you, Ephemerate, for always being there when I need you. It's been a really cool game. Why would you cycle Triumph and not to the well? So now they can't Galvanic Blast my Wall of Omens. I'm pretty safe to just draw 2. My Kingdom for 1 more Breeding Pool in play, a Reflecting Pool. I couldn't offer my Kingdom, but cast the Pulse. Yeah, Pulse has been decent so far. I'm not sure exactly how good it's been. It's always hard to evaluate new cards in the deck. It's felt worth playing. Take the Witching Well with the Skyclave. Maybe that's good. I'm not sure. Beware of P and Kieran. Does my opponent actually play P and Kieran? It's like a bit of a boomer card. You know, one that's... I love P and Kieran. I own like 10 P and Kierans or something like that. But I feel like the card's just not good anymore. I remember I used to like sideboard Pia and Kieran for grindy matchups in Modern, but it was also like good against Infect and Affinity. I feel like that's something that is a little understated, is like Infect and Affinity being 2 popular decks in Modern that are both weak to kind of the same or similar things, and both of those decks more or less being gone from Modern have really changed the landscape of Modern. Oh, sorry, I don't want to attack there. I think I'm gonna Ephemerate now, get back another Ephemerate, and then we could have Force of Negation up if we want it. Or just Ephemerate Skyclave to get like Urza or something. Yeah, both of those decks were really cool. I was definitely like very used to playing against them for like half your matches at a local tournament or something. Like you get to feel like a genius with your Electrolyze, right? So we have 2 Ephemerates rebounding here. We're definitely taking over this game. Oh, we also have Collector Oofs in our sideboard. That's so lucky. So lucky for us to have Collector Oofs. I mean, we put them in the deck, but like the Oofs are like mostly for like Tron, you know? So to get to play against a deck like Urza when you have Oofs in your sideboard just kind of feels a little dirty these days. Because like one reason to play this deck is that there are very few like Oofs or Stony Silences in the format. What's my favorite 3-color combo to play? Probably Jeskai, as far as like just the color combinations I just enjoy. But I try not to like let that impact my deck building decisions too much if I can. Why Oof over Stony? You get to attack for 2 with Oof. You can also Ephemerate Oof to protect it. But attacking for 2 is pretty big against Tron. So obviously the Oofs come in. I feel like 3 Force of Negation feels pretty good to me. Skyclave is also like our best removal spell by a lot. Probably want to cut the 3rd Wall of Omens. Might just sideboard like this. I could see playing Oust number 3 to deal with early Imries. Maybe Oust number 3 over Nyambe. Although maybe when we go down the Nyambe and the wall, we need to cut Ephemerate 4, which is often something that I do. So we could do this and maybe play the Teferi Hero. I think this all makes sense to me. Does Ariok work versus infinite Thopters? No, they just attack you twice. They make infinite, you gain, you know, they make infinite. I mean, they make 1,000,000, you gain 1,000,000, and then they attack twice. Ephemerate definitely feels like the most oppressive deck I built other than Counterbalance Miracles. Every time it wins so thoroughly and completely. I mean, yeah, I mean, the win condition of this deck is overwhelming card advantage, and so it certainly feels that way. I like this deck a lot. You only have 3 Misties. I would recommend a second Heath before an off-color blue fetch. And you're probably not going to feel that effect very much. I guess I keep on the draw. Obviously this hand needs some help. Help. This hand needs help. Not just any help. The Urza Discord sent you here. Welcome, people from the Urza Discord. Have you guys seen my gingerbread cabin build? I've been liking that deck. I guess I want to leave myself the option of Cryptic Commanding on turn 3 or turn 4. Yeah, you can link the Urza Discord. Thank you for asking first. And then people from my chat, tell them that the cabin deck is good, and you know, maybe exaggerate a bit how good it is. I think I'm mana leaking. I'm not sure. I kind of just don't want them to get that first Thopter. I guess they're going to get it when we Skyclave the Thopter Foundry anyways. But now we can just hold up Logic Knot. I think I want to Skyclave instead. If I had another blue source to maybe hold a Cryptic next turn, I could see holding up the Knot. Vindicate in 9 months. Hope you're having a good day today. Thank you for that. Yeah, then they just get the sword back. Yeah, it was bad to mana leak, obviously. Hey Zach, how you doing today? Good to see you in chat. A lot of people talk about Gingerbread Urza. Awesome. I do feel like the deck has a lot of room for improvement. So if any of the Urza stands and the Urza Discord can just break it, that'd be awesome. Yeah, that the leak was bad. Oh yeah, Zach is here suspiciously at the same time that people from the Urza Discord are here. Probably no correlation there. If we draw a land and can play Teferi with Logic Knot up, I'm feeling pretty good. Alright, not feeling pretty good. Do I feel like my opponent has Whir of Invention in hand? Probably they do. So I don't feel like we can play Witness and get back Misty, but I really want to play Witness and get back Misty. They just have to have Whir. Yeah, I'm going to wait. Then we can go like end of turn, bounce the Thopter or the sword. Probably the Thopter, because if they do have Whir for 2 up, they can sack the sword. Yeah, so we'll bounce the Thopter, EOT. And if somehow they're not on Whir, they just have counter spells or fatal pushes or lands, we're in just amazing shape. They also might be afraid of Force of Negation somehow. I feel like people play so hard around Force of Negation unnecessarily. That kind of feels like what's happening though with that pause, that my opponent's just playing around Force of Negation really hard. If I'm wrong, I could just get super punished for not playing my Witness. They didn't Whir last turn. They had all this mana last turn too. But I think my read is that they had Whir and they're playing around Force, so I'm gonna kind of stick to that, I think, right now. And it's so bad if they have it. Well, guess I feel vindicated a little bit that my read was correct. Guess I'm just gonna just pay. Do I want to represent white? I think I'll represent Ephemerate Path. And people they just play so hard around Force of Negation, but it's like, I don't know. Other counter spells, you're letting your opponent untap with mana available, so you're exposing yourself to other counter spells in spots like that. And then, you know, if you let Force of Negation happen, you're getting a 2-for-1, and they might just not have Force, but they could have another counter spell. The name Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, which is a card in my deck. They have a second Whir. Aether Grid. I guess they only have 2 artifacts in play. Okay, target for Oust. I'm probably gonna Time Warp here, right? Time Warp's really bad if their last card is Dispute, which it could be. No, I've never been to Europe, although I'd love to go one day. I haven't had a lot of opportunity to travel in my life on account of being poor. But I'd love to go to Europe one day. Yeah, I mean, I guess we're just gonna... Outskating them through life actually is pretty bad here. Yeah, Zach, the PT25 trip was awesome. Look back to that trip fondly. I remember Aether Grid used to be so popular. Like, Affinity sided the Sin to beat Stony Silence, and so like you would think about beating Aether Grid. I do want to use my Cryptic Command. My opponent's top decking. I think it's probably a spew to counter that. Why Oust instead of Path? Oust is, in my opinion, better against the Swift Spear and Shadow decks, which are more popular. And then, like, ousting your own creature does give you a way to gain some life, which I also kind of view to be important in this metagame. We also are playing, like, Niambi and Pulse of Marasa, just to have a couple ways to gain life. Oh yeah, Aether Grid Lantern too, that deck was so cool. Oh, they don't have Metalcraft, but that was a scary card for them to draw. I was like, why didn't they just blast me? I mean, just kind of a straightforward you with back Cryptic, right? Hold up Cryptic for Aether Grid. The Cryptic seemed poor versus top deck Whir. Yeah, I know, but then if we're just like not casting the Cryptic there, then, you know, I don't know that we can afford to hold it up the rest of the game with the Aether Grid in play. You know, the Aether Grid, our life total not being super high. I think it was just fine to not play around Whir. Could have been wrong though. I feel like I've lost so many games in my life just holding up Cryptic Commands that I never cast, that I don't usually play around like those kind of situations. Right. Why didn't we Eternal Witness for Skyclave and use it on Aether Grid? Well, if we let Aether Grid resolve, they get to ping my Witness. I think this is a bit better, right? I think I'm going to go to Fairy Bounce Emery first. And then Eternal Witness plus at least Ice Fang next turn is lethal. Probably going to main phase Ice Fang. If I draw a counter spell, I'll hold that up. And if I If I don't, I'll just Skyclave the sword. I mean, instead of bouncing it with Coco. That was probably a better line. Yeah, that was probably the better line. Interesting game. I haven't played against a ton against Urza lately. So we're 7-3 on the day with Bant Ephemerate. I like the deck. Obviously, we're testing out a few different things. Let's open the chest and talk.